Here's 4 things I used to get wrong about fat loss and what I did to fix it. Before I became an online coach, I used to yo-yo between trying to get in shape, trying to build muscle mass, and end up not really making much progress at all. So this video is all about making sure it doesn't happen to you. I'm gonna break down some of the mistakes that I made when trying to get lean, athletic, and get fitter. And the whole point is to arm you with more knowledge so that you can go in and try and make some progress on your own. If that doesn't happen and you feel like you're still stuck, I mean, online coaching is here for you if you need it. Links in the description below. So when I first started trying to get in better shape, one of the things that really stuck with me was I spent a perpetual amount of time trying to diet and trying to keep my calories nice and low. I didn't spend enough time trying to eat more food and gain more muscle mass so that I was building the platform to be able to make fat loss easier for myself. And this is something I wish I'd done sooner. I wish I'd spent more time in gaining phases, trying to build more muscle mass, trying to kickstart my metabolism to say, increase my energy availability so that I'm able to utilize carbohydrates and fats as energy. And I want you to think of this analogy. If you don't put fuel in the car goes nowhere. So this is a phase that I think I really wish I'd spent more time understanding before I went into any fat loss phase. I would have probably given myself way more time, and instead of going, cool, I'm gonna diet for the next 16 weeks, I would go, right, the next 8 weeks are dedicated to trying to increase the amount of food I can possibly consume whilst maintaining a certain level of leanness and improve my strength. Spend a few weeks at maintenance calories before I then go into fat loss. So instead of trying to condense my fat loss phase into about 16 weeks, I would try to extend the phases of that fat loss into roughly 30 weeks. Now, I know that might seem quite a challenge mentally to think about, but ultimately, if your goal is to maintain the results long term, you need to have a better understanding that you need to spend time in different phases in eating more calories, in maintenance calories, as well as dieting. What this does is it allows you to create a better frame of mind for getting ready for the diet. Your calories are already super high, so it means that you don't have to start at incredibly low amounts. And that's a mistake that I made. I remember trying to diet on 1800 calories and wondering why nothing really progressed. What it also does is gives you the opportunity to recognize whether you're mentally ready for dieting, whether you're ready to put it as the priority, or whether you're still stuck trying to enjoy social events a bit more often and not putting those physique goals first. What it allows you to do is understand this phrase better, and it's a bit morbid, but it works quite well. You have to kill your old self to become your new self. And the whole idea is that you're trying to shift your identity to the person you want to become, who is lean, athletic, fitter, happier, stronger, more confident with how they look. And this is what spending a bit more time eating more food allows you to do, builds that strong, resilient mindset when you go into dieting. This would have then allowed me to change my perspective on cardiovascular training as well, or conditioning as I like to use it, because I think there's a stigma around cardio thinking it's there to burn calories. But if you think about switching that thought process to conditioning work, what that means is you're focusing on trying to improve the most important muscle in your whole body, which is your heart. And if you can improve your aerobic capacity through conditioning work and anaerobic capacity, so high intensity interval training, you're able to become more aerobically efficient, you burn more calories, you have a greater amount of lean muscle tissue available as well as being able to burn those calories more efficiently and utilize fat oxidation at a higher set point. This just allows you to be fitter first so that when it comes to dieting, it gets easier. That is why you see runners who then start lifting weights pack on a ton of muscle mass eating a lot of calories, because their aerobic capacity is so much higher, as well as their expenditure being high as well. And this is why you see so many hybrid athletes that absolutely smash strength training and cardiovascular fitness eating a ton of calories. The next point was that I just never planned meals or social events, and I wish I'd done this sooner. I still see a lot of guys do that, and it's why the majority of lads that join the program, whether they're trying to gain muscle mass or lose body fat, is that they've got no structure with their nutrition. And once you make that simple switch, you can skyrocket the results so quickly, because it means you don't have to think about food as much. You've got more free mental space to be able to work on things. You have more consistent energy throughout the day. You're more productive, and so many other elements get improved off the back of planning your food better. Now my day evolves around about 4 meals. Because I am 6 weeks out from a photo shoot, they're very small, but when I'm in a gaining phase, I have 5 meals: pre-training, post-training, lunch, mid-afternoon, dinner, and something after that. So even 6 sometimes. And what this does is it helps to keep your hunger normalized throughout the day, keeps your energy levels stable, especially if you have a high protein, high fat lunch. So you don't get that afternoon slump around 3-4 o'clock where you're reaching for snacks or reaching for more caffeine to get you through the workday. It also means that you're fueled ready for the evening session if you like to train in the evening, but who the fuck wants to go and train when the gyms are that busy, right? And the reason it's so important that you have a bit more structure on nutrition is that most people think they need more freedom and less restriction with those items. But typically most people eat about 23 food items a day. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, it was always Monday night we're having spag bowl, Tuesday was curry, Wednesday was like shepherd's pie, Thursday was probably leftovers from lunches or evening dinners or snacking food. Thursday was a family pizza night, and then Sunday was a little bit more relaxed. But what that allowed you to do is just have way more structure throughout the day as a kid. But now as an adult, you don't put those same things in place. Quick water break. Fun fact, Volvic, touch of summer fruits, sugar-free, is an elite dieting hack. I try not to buy this very often because I'm not a massive fan of trying to utilize this. But if you're really struggling with hunger, this is a good option. It's 1.5 liters. So if you imagine, 2 of these a day is the minimum amount of water that I would try and recommend everybody consume. Most people are dehydrated and not drinking enough water. And if you don't realize it, but a lot of the bodily processes rely on water to, one, create energy and allow for your cells to be full and allows good oxygenated blood to be transported around the body. So yeah, having structure around your nutrition, not thinking of it as restrictive, but giving you a bit more structure allows you to be more disciplined and then allows you to build more freedoms. And this is where the next point comes in. And it was around managing social events. I used to never manage my social events ever. And when I did start to adjust this, it allowed me to plan those evening meals out with friends and family so that I could work back throughout the rest of the day. It allowed me to go, cool, I'm going for a curry tonight. I'm going to have a chicken schlacklick, which is Blair's favorite one. Blair, if you're watching, thank you. Great option. I've smashed that during this dieting phase. And then I'm going to have some rice on the side. That there, I'm going to give 800 calories. That means for the rest of the day, I've got now 1,300 calories to play around with, and I can split that over a number of meals. So that would typically then me be going to intermittent fasting till about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I'd then have my pre-training meal, I'd go and train, and then I'm able to go and have my post-workout meal, which probably be chicken, sweet potato, and a salad, and then a double scoop of protein powder before going out for dinner, so that I'm not absolutely starving going into that meal, and I can just manage that hunger a little bit more. What it also meant is having to change my mindset around drinking too. I used to drink a lot, and it wasn't until I got mugged in London that I decided to rein that in quite a lot. I haven't really spoken much about that, but the first year that I was living in London, Christmas work party, I rocked up late, I drank too much, and I got mugged in London on my way home, spent the night in ICU, cut my head open. I've got quite a scar across my face. You can't really notice it anymore because it was a few years ago, but it's one of the reasons why I don't drink as much. I want to stay in control of my body a lot more, and that's really important to me. And it allowed me to shift the mindset away from thinking that I had to drink to socialize, I had to drink to be a fun guy to hang out with, and that I couldn't be confident without the alcohol. And once I changed that, I was able to really start to recognize that socializing didn't mean drinking, and that I could still socialize and have fun with all my mates without being drunk. This then meant that I didn't reach for the shit food the next day when I was hungover and didn't order that Mackey's or get a late night doner kebab as well, which in total means that I was probably saving about 3,000 calories on those nights out, not getting smashed. Don't get me wrong, I still drink. Like, I will still have the occasional drink in the evenings. Whilst I'm dieting now, 6 weeks out from the photo shoot, I probably won't be drinking anymore until after the shoot. And then I might have a few spicy margaritas throughout that time. There's definitely a few trips coming up. I've got a stag do happening in May and a wedding as well, which is going to be awesome. And then in July, I'm going to Ibiza, which is going to be awesome too. So lesson 3 is understanding my emotions a bit better and not pressing the fuck it button when I was feeling down. There's been 2 occasions in my life where I would say that I was depressed. Not to the point of being like suicidal, but certainly moments where I felt extreme loneliness, extreme anxiety. And it's still pretty hard to look back on those situations without a lot of emotions still coming up now. The first one was at university. Again, this is before I reduced the amount that I was drinking, and I went to university trying to reinvent myself and took it too far. I would drink heavily, black out most nights, and really hated myself a lot for some of the decisions I made and the people that I hurt. And what that meant is that I'd hide away quite a lot in my room, and I isolated myself even more because I thought I was a bad person, and therefore I didn't feel like people deserved me as a friend or somebody to hang out with. It still probably has impacted some of the friendships I have now, where I have kept people at arm's length, and it's also impacted relationships off the back of that. And what I would do is I would eat my emotions. I would smash Pringles left, right, and center. Not because they're damn delicious and tasty, but I would generally try to be using food to combat those emotions of loneliness. The second time was during lockdown. I had just broken up with an ex-girlfriend, and I had moved into a 6-bed flat share in southwest London and I didn't know anybody, and the people that already lived there weren't the most social. Wasn't until we had a few absolute legends come and move in, really started to enjoy life a lot more and felt like I had people around me that I could connect to and enjoy life a little bit more. And so what I'd do is I'd lock myself in my room and I would have 2 to 3 takeaways a week. And I piled on the weight. I got to the heaviest I'd ever been, which was 83 kilos, which I know might not seem like a lot to most people, but for me, as somebody who put training and how they looked at quite a high pedestal and quite a high value in their life, I really wasn't leading by example for the person that I wanted to be. And as I said, yeah, smashing the takeaways, Chinese, pizza, more Pringles, just to try and eat those emotions away. And ultimately, it helped in the instance, right? 20 minutes, felt great, felt full, felt satisfied. That instant gratification hit hard. And then after that, nothing. Back to that loneliness, but this time extremely full, almost to the point of uncomfortableness. And because it was locked down, didn't really do much. I trained in my room, piled on the weight. So I had to find different ways of managing my emotions. And it might seem hippie to you, but some of the things that have worked for me over the last 6 years has been journaling more, writing down my feelings, reading more, hiring a therapist, and speaking more openly about my feelings to people. Sometimes I still struggle with that, and there's still that anxiety of like, what are they going to think about me? What are they going to think about these emotions that are coming up? I'm not this strong person right now. And I still get anxious sometimes, especially if I don't have a routine or I don't have a to-do list, which I know might seem strange, but for somebody who's self-employed, who runs their own diary and their own job and their own business, if I don't have structure, if I don't have a to-do list, I can quite easily get caught in my own head. And so getting them down on paper at the end of the day and jotting down a to-do list really does help for me to be able to move forward. I read a lot of self-help books as well, and I hate using that statement because I would like to rather think of them as mindset books. It allowed me to change my perspective. And the book that really started to change my life was a book called The Art of Thinking Clearly. It was recommended to me by James Smith. If you know him, a couple of his friends used to train at the gym that I used to work at. And that's where I really started to enjoy training again. It's where I started to understand what self-betterment looked like. I don't like using that phrase, self-help, because I feel like it's quite cliche, but this book genuinely changed my life. What this did was allowed me to move away from using food as the only mechanism to manage my emotion. And that therefore meant I wasn't eating as much. It allowed me to maintain my physique a little bit better and maintain my weight a little bit more, because ultimately that is the end goal that all of us are striving for, weight maintenance. You're looking to maintain a certain level of fitness and certain look throughout the year. Whether that's 6-pack abs for the whole year is possible, but for the majority of people, staying between 20 to 25% body fat is where they should generally sit. And what I'm trying to say here is that I'm not still devoid of emotions. There are still elements of me that get angry, frustrated, sad, lonely, but I'm just better at managing them now and not using food as the only way of dealing with it all. And as a bonus, this is the 5th one that I wasn't really going to speak about, but going through this video, I think I've really shown you that there's a lot more going on within my head. And one of the biggest things that I think really stopped me being able to get in really good shape and then staying in shape was hiring people that knew more than me. For a long time, I let my ego drive a lot of my decisions. Growing up, playing cricket at a decent level, going to university and trying to reinvent myself, and then starting personal training. I thought I knew everything when I qualified, but I knew very little. I didn't realize how much emotions played on things. I was probably quite avoidant growing up because of growing up on a farm and feeling very isolated. And I would have learned faster and got better results long term if I leaned into the people that were offering help. When I first signed up to the gym at 16, I was offered 4 free personal training sessions with Josh. He is a great friend of mine who now runs the Game Changers program in Devon at the gym that I first started training at, and he's an absolute legend and is currently coaching my mum and dad, which is awesome. But I wish I'd taken up those 2 training sessions because I would have probably got better results. I would have trained my legs more, that's for sure, because everyone used to skip legs when they were younger, when they first started, because it was horribly painful. But it would have meant that I would have got a lot further ahead. I wish I'd hired Matt, who was my first ever online coach for my physique, and I wish I'd hired him as a mentor sooner as well. But these are mistakes you make, and I don't want you to make them as well. But it is what it is, and I hope that these mistakes that I've made and the lessons I've learned off the back of it can help you. So just to recap, I don't want you to make these mistakes. I want you to put yourself first, and I want you to drop the ego and get some help. Whether that's with me or another coach, I really don't care. That's the kind of mentality that I have going into work at the moment. And we help the guys that want to be helped. It's really how that goes. And if you've got this far, maybe you resonate with some of the things that I've been saying, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please give it a massive like, subscribe, and if you're feeling brave enough, comment one of the things that you've learned about your own journey down below. Cheers.